Ah, good morning, dear ones. You're not supposed to make the minister cry before he gives the talk. So, can I start by saying how in awe I am of ministers who not only sing but also can blow the doors off the building? That was just extraordinary. Thank you so much for that. And house band, wherever you went, you guys are awesome and beyond. Thank you for that. So it is my great honor and privilege to be back with you, and thanks so much to Reverend Richard for the opportunity. I say back because it was 8 years ago, and I met a couple of not old friends, but friends of long standing that actually have my book from when I was here 8 years ago. So thank you so much for that. So it is my great joy to be back on this absolutely gorgeous but a little crisp Atlanta day. In San Diego, we don't get down to the 20s quite so much, but that's okay because spring is coming. It really is, I promise, yes. So my talk for this morning is honoring and celebrating diversity and keep your fork. When we hear the word diversity, a lot of times we think of related to one another and sexual orientation and different religions and spiritual views and so forth. And that's absolutely true. But today I'd like to talk about diversity in our experiences. I'm so glad you're with me today because we're going to talk about things that we in New Thought don't necessarily talk about. And I love that. I love to stir the pot. I love to talk about forgiveness as a process, not an event. I love to talk about being content exactly in the moment where we are. And today I'd like to talk about this thing called life and what we experience as human beings. In our teaching, we tend to focus on the positive. We tell ourselves that all is well, that everything is in divine order, that everything is as it should be. And that's absolutely true. But the fact may be, as a result of a death or some other loss, of a job change, of a relationship change, of some other human experience, although those statements that I just made are the truth, the fact may be that our hearts are breaking. So is there a way for us to be comfortable in the muddy water, be comfortable in those experiences and allow ourselves to know the truth, but also to feel those feelings that we have so that we can heal and move forward? There's a Zen saying, "May we exist like a lotus, at home in muddy water. Thus we bow to life as it is." Do we allow ourselves to bow to life as it is and feel what we're feeling so that we can move forward? Because denial is not just a river in Egypt. Did you get that? Get that? Yeah, thank you. Okay, just making sure you're paying attention. Because life is joy and wonder and passion and excitement. And it's also pain and heartbreak and transition and change. Now, in no way am I suggesting that we hang out in the muddy water, that we stay stuck in whatever that is that we're going through. But Debbie Ford, who was happened to be a dear friend and was also a wonderful author, wrote, "What we can't be with won't let us be." Can we be with that grief? Can we be with that feeling of loss? Can we be with that fear and that experience of change and keep moving? Can we allow ourselves to do that? This afternoon, this is a shameless commercial, this afternoon we're going to do a deeper dive into what I'm talking about this morning, and I hope, as Reverend Richard said, and thank you for that, if you've got plans for this afternoon, put them off, wait to go Krogering later on this afternoon and go and stay with me, because it's an important subject that we're going to be talking about, and it always opens my heart, and I bet that it will yours as well. One of my favorite authors is Brené Brown, and in the book, The Gifts of Imperfection, she writes about perfectionism. Because we want to say that life is wonderful, and life is wonderful, but it's not always rainbows and teddy bears. In the book, she writes, perfectionism is not the same as striving to be your best. Perfectionism is not about healthy achievement and growth. Perfectionism is the belief that if we live perfect, look perfect, and act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. But it's a shield. Perfectionism is a 20-ton shield that we lug around thinking it will protect us, when in fact it's the thing that's really preventing us from taking flight. So I am charming and sparkling and patient and wonderful and delightful. And I am also hateful and surly and cranky and impatient. And don't tell anybody, but so are you. And it's okay. And not only is it okay, but it's necessary. We have to allow ourselves to feel it so we can heal it. Do we allow when there's trauma in our lives, do we allow ourselves to feel it? Do we allow ourselves to grieve that loss, whatever that loss was? Do we allow ourselves to be imperfect? And I would suggest that in every moment we are always perfect, because we're perfect for ourselves in that moment. But that's my perception of the word, and it's her book, so I'm not going to get involved in making any suggestions. Isn't it wonderful to be back together? Isn't it wonderful to get on a plane and go to Atlanta and visit your dear ones? Isn't it wonderful? The last 3 years have been, oh my goodness, we've not experienced this before, and we've missed birthdays and births and weddings and memorial services and celebrations and conferences and getting together. We've missed that we will never get back. And we can make up for lost time, but we won't get those back. Can we allow ourselves to recognize that and then make plans to see those people that we weren't able to see for a period of time? So this topic that we don't talk about, I love to talk about because it's very, very close to my heart. My husband and I were together for 33 years, and he died in October of 2018. Yes, October of 2018. He was diagnosed with colon cancer about 2 years before, and if you've had the experience of cancer and chemotherapy and all of that, or had that experience with a dear one, you know that oftentimes the chemo can do wonderful things to the tumors, but terrible things to the physical body. And so that was his experience. And so it was about 2 years into the treatment, and he was getting thinner and weaker and weaker and thinner. And Anton, the affiliated New Thought Network that Richard mentioned, has a conference every year, and for the last several years, we've been at Unity Village. And so my husband, who is also Jerry, he said, well, maybe I shouldn't go. And I said, well, I'd love for you to go, but I also want you to take care of yourself, so if you're not feeling strong enough, stay home. And he said, no, I want to go. I think at some level he knew that this was going to be it. So we flew to Kansas City, took the shuttle to Unity Village, were there for 2 days, and the evening of the third day, and he was too weak to go to the dining room, was too weak to attend any of the sessions, but the third night he fell trying to get to the bathroom, and I had a terrible time getting him back up again. And so I decided, okay, it's time to go home. We'll get you in, get you into the hospital, see what they can do for you, and move forward. So called the airline and changed the reservation, flew the next day from Kansas City to Houston, and we went to the gate in Houston. I went over to the ticket agent or the gate agent to check the seat assignments, and when I came back, he was unresponsive. So quick, went to back to the gate agent. They called 911. The paramedics came, transported, got his heart started again, transported him, but on the way to the airport, his heart stopped again, and they were not able to revive him, and he died in the airport, actually, and then in the hospital at Memorial Hermann in Houston. A different experience if you ever had this experience of someone dying in a different state from where they live, because there's lots of stuff involved in the processing and all the rest of that. So, found a hotel room. Next day, flew home, got all 4 suitcases instead of just mine, because of course it was just me. Took the cab home, got into the house, kissed the dog, sat down, and started to grieve. And my ego said, no, you are a New Thought minister. Everything is in divine order. Everything is as it should be. It's all good. And I'm like, And I have to tell you, and the purpose of this workshop, and my experience was that I really had a hard time fighting with my spiritual knowing, and I absolutely know that, again, all of these statements are absolutely true, but the fact is our hearts are breaking. And so over time, I allowed myself to begin to think about the possibility that maybe it's okay to grieve. Maybe it's okay to feel this loss. Maybe it's okay to be perfectly human. Have you ever had that experience? And it might be, again, it might be someone's dying. It might be being laid off from a job. I like to say lovingly released, much better than laid off, but a job ending, a relationship changing, not being able to go to a wedding because of COVID, just any of those life experiences that we tend to cover up sometimes with statements that are often called toxic positivity and spiritual bypass. Because our wholehearted life includes all of it. All the joys and wonders and sorrows and pain and all the rest of that. But in order to move forward, we have to allow ourselves to feel it, again, feel it, so we can heal it. Often we recognize these emotions that we have and we label them as good. Happy and joyful and patient and loving and nurturing and all of those things. And bad. Hateful and surly and cranky and judgmental and resentful and regretful and all of those others. But is there a way to recognize that this that I'm feeling is just this that I'm feeling? And it's okay. It's okay to feel that, again, so we can heal it. Because if we don't, our emotions come out in surprising and wonderful ways. And this might have been your experience. Somebody, you're late. You're late to a doctor's appointment, you're late to work, you're late to church. And there's somebody on the 285 in the left lane doing 50 miles an hour talking on the phone. On an ordinary day, it is what it is. This is in Atlanta. Y'all have a little traffic here. Not to say that we don't in San Diego, but y'all do. But on an ordinary day, you just say, and go around them and move forward. But you just react in anger, and did your driver's license come with your first set of tires, and just get so angry. Where does that anger come from? Quite possibly from unexpressed and unresolved grief. Or, I really was saving the leftover pizza for dinner tomorrow night, but somehow magically the leftover pizza disappeared. Or the package of lemon Oreos that you opened and were just going to eat a couple wind up disappearing. Or the pint of Ben & Jerry's. Now this could be the exception because it's not as good after you open it, so you really need to eat the whole pint. I'm just saying. But might be saving that for tomorrow night, and somehow magically it disappears. Because our wonderful human emotions need to be expressed somehow, some way, and if we don't do it this way, we'll get to do it this way unless and until we say, now wait just a minute, because I love to ask why. Why am I reacting this way? Why am I so upset about this? Why is this bothering me? Why did I just drink the whole bottle of red wine? Whatever it is. So allowing ourselves to see it, to feel it, again, so we can heal it. Our unexpressed emotions can also show up in our physical bodies as illness. And there's always the opportunity to say, without judgment, just again questioning, what's going on here? What am I not expressing that I need to express so that I can heal this? So in living authentically, there's the opportunity to grieve it, to feel it, again, so we can heal it. And again, we'll talk about in much more detail this afternoon. Sometimes after we've had a traumatic event, again, someone's death. And let me just say, we're not, and I was talking with a few people after the first service about this, we're not, and this is the collective we, so you might be good at this, but we, the collective we in this society, are not real good about dealing with death. We don't like to use the D word. When someone dies, and this was my experience and it might have been yours as well, people just say those platitudes. When we could instead, we could say, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Not, well, he's in a better place. Yes, I know that. He's out of pain. Yes, I know that. But I'm not. I'm not out of pain, and I get to be a little selfish here and allow myself to feel this. We were together for 33 years. We were Jerry and Jerry squared. And I must admit that I went through a period of time, and if you've had this experience, I bet you'll relate. Who am I now? I'm not somebody's husband. I'm not, if you've had the experience of the death of a child, I'm not somebody's mother or father. I'm not somebody's spouse. I'm not that I used to do for work. So who am I now? And will life ever be good again? And I got to admit, will I find somebody? Is there somebody else out there to love me? And just as a side note, yes, there is. And I'm in an amazing new relationship, which is just so awesome. But that's a separate story. Will it be good again? It won't be the same. And there's still some grief almost 5 years later because it won't be the same. And the things that we like to do together, we won't do as a couple anymore because he's not here. But life will be good again in a different way. So that's why it's important for us to keep our fork. There's a story of a minister meeting with a parishioner, and this very elderly lady, fairly close to making her transition, and they're talking about her service. And she says, so this is the outfit she wants to wear, the music she wants to have played at the service, and I want you to bury me with a fork. And the minister said, okay, do you mind if I ask why? And she said, because growing up, whenever we had a family dinner, my mother always used to say, as they're clearing the plates, my mother used to say, keep your fork because something good is coming. So what I know for us is no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstances, as we allow ourselves to feel, to receive the love and the joy and the comfort of the Spirit, but as we allow ourselves to feel what we're going through, we have the fork for the next greatest thing. Because there's always something more for us. There's always another chapter for us when we allow it to happen.